I think the story of colour in Tom Thomson's art is one of the most fascinating and in many ways mysterious things. He was always a kind of Sunday painter, and as he worked at Grip, he was employed at Grip as a commercial artist, so he mainly did drawing and he did lettering, very much in an Art Nouveau style. But he also painted a little. There are one or two scrappy things from the first decade of the 20th century. He starts painting seriously really in about 1911, 1912. But the distinguishing thing about those paintings is how subdued they are. He paints not quite in a monochrome, but they are very quiet. They're very careful. They're very Victorian is what they are, really. They're looking backwards. Quite nice, but not colourful. And we think of Tom Thomson as colourful beyond belief. So what happened? Well, he started taking himself more seriously in 1913. And in 1913, he sold a painting, a Northern Lake, to the government of Ontario. This was a major coup, and it actually suggested to him that he might have a career here. And it suggested to his friends too. They looked at his sketches from that year, and they are a bit more colourful, but they're still quite simple, quite basic, a very controlled range of colour. What happened? A.Y. Jackson happened. In 1914, Thomson shared a studio with Jackson. Now, Jackson was amongst the most experienced artists in Canada, certainly amongst the most trained artists in Canada. He had trained in Europe. He'd lived in France, he'd lived in Italy, he'd lived in England. He had studied, he had a full career, and he was also based in Montreal, which had a very strong tradition of Impressionism. So he was a virtuoso already, and he was painting in a very bright style. He knew all about the Fauves, he knew all about Impressionism, he knew all about Post-Impressionism. And he tells us that in the 2 months that he shared a studio with Tom Thomson, they swapped information. Tom Thomson talked about fishing, canoeing, and the North. Jackson talked about Impressionism, Post-Impressionism, and he demonstrated in his own work. And it was like a bomb was lit under Thomson. He suddenly discovered that colour could exist in its own right. It didn't have to reflect the closest possible matching with the landscape that you're looking at. That if you intensified the colour, it intensified the experience of that landscape. It was like opening a door. And Jackson also taught him about brushstrokes, about the expressive potential of just the act of painting. He then goes to Algonquin Park in 1914, and by the end of that year, Jackson is saying, I no longer know whether I'm leading or following. He expected to be leading. Tom Thomson's arc of discovery in 1914 is one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen in an artist's history. He discovers colour, and by 1915 there is no stopping him. Every painting is a firework display, and he has a natural talent for it. It isn't just vibrant colours applied anyhow. He controls his colours. So this is a man wielding the brightest possible colours in the palette, and it never looking wrong. It always looks like you're peering through Tom Thomson's eyes at what he's seeing. It's a remarkable achievement.